Good morning. My name is Brianna Foster, and I'm an assistant district attorney here in the Macon Judicial Circuit, where I am assigned to the Special Victims Unit, which means that I prosecute all crimes that deal with children and any crimes that involve any form of sex. Today, I would like to take this time to welcome you to the second annual Anti-Human Trafficking Symposium. This symposium was started by District Attorney Anita Howard in an effort to offer both hope and healing to any and all people who may be adversely affected by human trafficking. The Into Light Symposium is a professional wellness initiative that aims to raise awareness about human trafficking by way of offering support and services to human traffic survivors, those who may be at risk, by providing education, tools for prevention, and fostering community engagement, also while collaborating with the necessary parties. Though prosecution is amazing, we know that we can only combat human trafficking through teamwork. So today, we gather to share resources, to forge professional relationships, and to help combat human trafficking in all forms. Again, we are so thankful for your presence, and we welcome you here today. Next, we will hear from Mr. Jeff Shaw, who is the Chief Program Officer of Frontline Response. Jeff Shaw is the National Expansion Officer of Frontline Response, headquartered in Atlanta, Georgia. Jeff received his Juris Doctorate from the University of Georgia School of Law. He enjoyed a successful law practice before starting the Anti-Sex Trafficking Department of Frontline Response, also Out of Darkness, in 2011. For over 12 years, the organization has served on the front line of sex trafficking in Georgia through prevention, outreach, 24-hour rescue, and emergency care that has resulted in over 1,700 transitions out of prostitution and sex trafficking. Frontline now operates emergency safe homes for sex trafficking victims in Atlanta, Georgia, Columbus, Ohio, and they are working towards opening homes in Houston, Texas, as well as South Florida. Jeff speaks and trains nationwide to audiences including nonprofit leaders, financial service professionals, lawyers and judges, churches, law enforcement, and healthcare professionals. Help me welcome Mr. Jeff Shaw.
Every time I see my own pictures, I mourn the loss of hairline between each one that I will blame on this work. I feel like that's fair. I don't know if it's true, but I feel like it's fair. Well, it's an honor to be with you all. Where's District Attorney Howard? Yes. Can I just, your whole team is in blue, and you guys got my eyes darting everywhere. Thank you so much for doing this again this year. Thank you for your commitment to the safety of the community and to serving victims of trafficking. And I think it's easy, especially if you've been to events like this before, to just kind of put it on, show up, maybe hear some encouraging things, hear some distressing things, and then move on with life. But I think it's worth noting that when a community sees their leaders prioritizing things like this, it sends a message to the community, it sends a message to potential exploiters that, hey, the people who prosecute are looking at this crime specifically. And I think it also sends a message to victims and survivors that this is an issue that matters in the community, and by default, they matter too. And so I appreciate you doing this. And yeah. And I want to recognize my colleagues as well. They're celebrating this year 10 years of this Out of Darkness location here in the Middle Georgia region, doing outreach, awareness, direct services for victims, helping transport them to the emergency safe home. So I just want to honor you guys for your 10 years of commitment that we're riding in on the waves of. So thank you guys. I love just leading claps for other people. It's fun. And lastly, Maya. Where's Maya Hasek? Is she in the room? She might have stepped out. Oh, there she is. Okay, y'all. You're going to get the tremendous privilege of hearing more from Maya later. She is truly the expert in labor trafficking and issues surrounding immigrants and refugee victims, and not just here in Georgia, but throughout the region and even nationally. And when I got involved in this work 13 years ago, she was already 3 years into it. So she's in her 16th year now of doing this incredible work. And I just want to honor her because she's a champion. I've followed in her footsteps. So thank you, Maya, for your leadership around this issue too. Appreciate it. Yeah. So last year, who was here last year by a show of hands? Okay, so about half of you. So we got some new folks too. So last year, I kind of approached these opening remarks as having been a little over a decade in, almost like a state of the issue address, and thinking back through what I've seen over the first 10 years in this work. And so coming in today, I really want to just think back over the last year and some of the emerging issues. And there are common themes. Last year, I remember speaking about childhood sexual abuse and how much of an on-ramp that is to being trafficked and exploited. And we talked about issues of race and how those can impact vulnerabilities and exploitation. And then we talked about pornography, which is something that I almost never pass up on the opportunity to address anymore because I think it is so foundational to perpetuating this crisis that we have and how it's conditioning and educating our children and how they view sex and sexuality, and particularly the young ladies in our culture. So I'm gonna retouch on some of those and move away to some other things too, but I'm only gonna talk for about 6 more minutes. So one thing I wanna highlight is in 2023, the Attorney General's office, which has a pretty unique human trafficking prosecution unit in the state of Georgia. It was just created in 2019. But in this past year alone, they had 129 victims that they helped rescue and assist out of trafficking and exploitation, which is fantastic. And then they had 81 investigations that they helped local law enforcement agencies with across the state of Georgia. And that led to 29 convictions of traffickers and exploiters, which is fantastic. Like we heard in the opening remarks, that is a crucial part. Law enforcement's role and the role of the courts is crucial in addressing a component of this issue. But there is a flip side to that too that I think represents a challenge and an opportunity for us as well, and we experienced that firsthand in 2023. How many people in the room are familiar with the case of Centoya Brown? Okay, so a few of you, and just as a quick recap for those who don't know, she was a young 16-year-old girl who her grandmother had experienced a sexual assault. Her mother was trafficked and gave birth to Centoya when she was 16, and Centoya had all kinds of challenges throughout her early childhood that led to her running away and linking up with who she knew as her boyfriend, who we would know as her pimp or trafficker, and his street name was Cutthroat. So you can imagine you've got this 16-year-old girl with a grown man who goes by the name of Cutthroat, and he tells her she hasn't been carrying her weight, so he sends her out to make some money, and she goes down to the Sonic to get a hamburger, and an older white male comes driving through and knows what she's probably doing walking around in the street and rolls his window down and asks her if she's looking for a date and has her hop in the truck with him and takes her back to his personal home where he's a veteran, he's got weapons in the home. Now, what we know, how many people that work directly in victim services in the room? Amazing. Thank you guys for what you do. So this will not come as any surprise to you. She immediately starts going into survival mode, right? And trauma brain. There, I see weapons. Like I whether he's pointing them at me, whether he's threatening me, I'm immediately coming out of my box of stability, right? I'm going into hypervigilance. And so she's already starting to think about, all right, I'm going to pretend to fall asleep. So I won't tell that whole story, but just to understand what happened, according to her, she understood him to be leaning over to his bedside table where she believed he might have a weapon and intended to hurt her, and she pulled a handgun out of her purse and shot him, and he deceased. The decision was made to prosecute her as an adult. And in that, she was essentially sentenced to life in prison. And none of the factors of her life, the trauma she had experienced, how does a victim think in those moments? What kind of, was she even a victim, which she was not viewed as a victim, which we know is oftentimes the case, right? And there's so many layers to the story, right? But if you heard anything about it, you know that in 2019, Governor Bill Haslam in Tennessee was on his way out of office, and he essentially pardoned her sentence, and she was released after 15 years in prison at the age of 31, and has become an incredible advocate in our field, doing direct services, helping create employment opportunities. She speaks and advocates on behalf of victims. And we would hope that would mark a moment in our nation in how we view victims of sexual exploitation, right? But sadly, in many places, including in Georgia, victims continue to be prosecuted as trafficking offenders. And there was a case here locally of a young lady named Tiffany Sampson, and she was in Pulaski State Prison. She wound up, again, as a young teenager, 14 years old, with a 30-plus-year-old man who she knew to be her boyfriend, but who began to forced prostitute her, or as we now know is proper, traffic her. She was a minor. And she was being trafficked to men in a trailer park, and she got pregnant. And then at the age of 17, she was in the car when he picked up a 13-year-old to begin trafficking. He took her phone from her, Tiffany's phone. He used her phone to set up the dates and do all the things. And she just, understanding victimology at this point, she's just kind of dissociating through life, going with the flow. We, outside of our understanding, we think, well, why wouldn't someone jump to help this 13-year-old and save them? And that point had long left Tiffany's mindset, her paradigm, her worldview, right? So yeah, if you say, give me your phone, I'm going to give you my phone, right? So when that 13-year-old is rescued, Tiffany gets prosecuted for child trafficking, along with the man who was over 20-plus years older than her that had begun trafficking her at the age of 14. And she got a 20-year prison sentence that she was serving in Pulaski State Prison. But thanks to some incredible advocacy, she was released in 2023 at the age of 28. And so again, you think, hey, this is another moment for us as a society to say, we've got to stop re-victimizing our trafficking victims. And then we had the opportunity as an organization in 2 different cases, but one that I was personally involved in, to testify as an expert witness on behalf of a young lady who once again was being prosecuted for trafficking a minor along with the male trafficker when she herself had been an underage trafficking victim of his. And so we testified to the mindset and the power dynamics. Again, it was a situation where he had used her phone to set up the dates for the minor. She rode in the car. When the minor was giving their report to police, they never mentioned this other woman's name. She wasn't a part of my grooming, my recruitment. She never hurt me. She never told me how to do my job. She was just there in the car. And yet, she was one of those successful prosecutions that I just told you about in 2023. And she is serving a 20-year prison sentence with her case going to appeal. So there is work to be done, right? Even as we go after more cases, go after more perpetrators, and acknowledge the complexities. There are law enforcement and prosecutorial agencies in the room that know, okay, that's really nice how you're framing it up, but it can get complicated, right? How to parse out victimology from perpetrators and all of that. But I think we have to acknowledge the patterns that are re-victimizing our adult trafficking victims, especially, that were once child trafficking victims, and make those necessary changes so we can stop showing up in their lives 15 years after they've been incarcerated, trying to put their lives back together at 30 or older and saying, hey, why don't we at age 16 and 17 start making the shift there so we can help these young people get their lives back on track again. So that's one of the things I want to put before you all. And then the second thing, and I'll spend less time on this, but back on this pornography issue, and I would encourage you to do your own research into the health harms that pornography has, especially on children. I'm not here to pontificate on the morality or the ethics of pornography or adult consumption of pornography. I have my own opinions, but I would hope we can all agree that we don't want our 8 and 9 and 10 and 12 and 13-year-olds seeing, and if you are not familiar with the majority of online pornographic content today, it is violent, it is degrading, it is racist, and it's shocking how much in the age of progress we're making about how we talk about demographics of people and groups of people and men and women and gender dynamics, what gets to exist inside this bubble of pornography, that if you heard anybody use any of these terms or say any of these words out in public, we would immediately cancel them. But in pornography, it's untouchable. Oh, that's pornography. Like, they do what they do. And they are one of the primary narratives that's shaping our children's view of the world. They're teaching our boys how to think about the girls that they go to school with and the women in their lives and how to approach romance and relationship, and that this dynamic of it doesn't matter what she wants or what she's communicating or what would feel good for her, because pornography tells me it's what she really wants is what me as the male wants in the situation. And it doesn't matter if she seems to be resisting or in pain or submissive or outright protesting, because what pornography is telling me is that's all part of the game. So why do we have teenagers being arrested for rape at parties, group rapes, right? Getting girls drunk and raping them, videoing it, sending it to their friends, because that is the pornographic fantasy. That's the world our boys are operating in. And when the CDC releases a report in 2023 and says, hey, we've been studying teen girls from 2011 to 2021, and 1 in 3 girls now as a teenager is actively contemplating taking their own life. 20% increase from 2017 to 2021 of girls saying that they were the victims of sexual violence. A 20% increase in 4 years. 10%, actually it's 14%. 14% of girls in high school are saying that they were raped within the past year. This is a crisis for our youth, and these are the factors that are setting our youth up to be exploited by adults. It's the message of what is it to be a girl? What is it to be a boy? What is sexuality? And at the very least, my hope would be that as the state of Georgia, we could say, can we at least protect our children from accessing hardcore online pornography, which is feeding our trafficking and sexual abuse crisis? All we want to do, and we're introducing this legislation this year in 2024, is say, if you are purveying adult pornographic content, you need to have legitimate age verification before someone can get on that site. We're not saying you have to pay. We're not saying you have to put your name in some kind of database. We're not saying you have to put some harm statement on your website. We're just saying you need to make sure that the person accessing that content is actually 18 years old. All the same precautions we have in place for tobacco and alcohol, can we protect our kids? And so I want to invite you guys to join us in that. And I'll just close by quoting what the CDC said in their statement. What should be, for our teenage girls, high school years that are full of trailblazing are full of waves of trauma. And this should not be. And so with that, as District Attorney Howard comes up, I want to acknowledge the survivors who you're going to be hearing from today as well. And I sadly have to leave because I have to catch a flight. I'm not one of those speakers who's like, I come in and out because I'm so important. Not at all. I have to catch a flight. But to the survivors who are going to be sharing, the courage, thinking about the level of personal dynamics that you're willing to share, and we know your motivation. It's because you want to protect others. You want to help us understand how to best protect others and help others heal. You guys are heroes, and I would encourage you all, as you listen to them, don't just think, oh, well, this is a really amazing story. Listen to their story and say, where might I show up in that story? Where in terms of my family unit or my profession or my role in the community might I have intersected that story that I just heard in a meaningful way? And then let's do it. And my favorite quote from my favorite book is, let's not grow weary in doing good. So bless you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, District Attorney Howard.
Hi, good morning. Oh, wonderful. I just want to first thank everybody for being here. This is our second year doing this symposium. I'm very excited about it. We have more people in the room. We have more diverse backgrounds in the room. And so I want to just thank you all for being here again today. I want to acknowledge a few folks, and I always say this when I start doing this, I always end up missing someone, but I've been doing okay here lately at the last few events, so hopefully I'll get it right this time. I just want to first acknowledge our mayor, Lester Miller of Macon Bibb. Don't get me for butchering your name. Please stand up, Mayor. He was here last year, and he's here again this year, and he shows up for our events. I know that I understand what it means to be busy, and I know how busy he is, and everybody's pulling at him. But I just want to thank you so much for your support of the District Attorney's Office, but more importantly, your support of making our community safer. And so thank you again, Mayor Miller, our mayor, for being here. I'm so appreciative. I also want to I see some county commissioners. If you all could stand, county commissioners who are here, I want to thank you all for being here as well. And we have any other elected officials besides sheriffs. So if you are not sheriff, but you are elected, if you would please stand. All right, thank you so much. We have our Chief Magistrate Court Judge, Judge Pam White Colbert, as well as our solicitor, Rebecca Grice. Rebecca and I work hand in hand on lots of issues. As you all know, she's a Bibb County solicitor and she handles the misdemeanor cases, but our office are always in communication with one another. And so I thank you again for being here, Rebecca. And now you say, well, why did you single out the sheriffs? Y'all, because I've been a prosecutor for 18 and a half years. And all of the relationships in this room are important to prosecutors, but there is no more valuable relationship than a prosecutor's relationship with our law enforcement agencies. And our sheriffs, they show up for their DA. And I just want to ask them to stand and say thank you, thank you, thank you. And they are all three here. I was recently at a meeting, a statewide meeting with all the DAs, and one of my fellow DAs, who shall not be named, said, it's got to be hard on you because you've got 3 counties and 3 sheriffs. And I went, it's not hard at all. If we need to talk about something, we get in a room and we hammer it out. And we figure out how to best serve our community. And so the relationship that we've been able to cultivate and continue to build upon is invaluable to the safety of individuals and the service that we are here to provide in our community. So people say, well, DA Howard, you do a lot of things. Why are you doing this? Well, the reason why we're doing this is because we know that human trafficking is a global issue. But it's also a local issue. And we have symposiums like this so that we not only can talk about some of these cases and hear from survivors and interact with partners, but also so that we can educate our community. I think Jeff couldn't have said it any better, to find out what could we have done, right? So you know what signs to look for, and that is why we have these symposiums. And this is another reason why, really, when I saw this statistic, you all, it was alarming to me. Right now in the DA's office, we have 126 open cases involving children who have been sexually abused in our circuit, right? And we are prosecuting those cases. Just the week before last, we had a case where a gentleman was charged with rape and aggravated child molestation, and he actually had HIV. And actually gave one of the victims, there were two victims, gave one of the victims HIV. One of the victims was 14 when this happened, okay? And so it took us 7 years, right, to actually try that case. And I know the wheels of justice, they turn, but they turn slowly. He kept changing attorneys, and even the court found that the delay had nothing to do with the DA's office. It's a lot of times the games that the defendants play, and they have a right to change their attorney and do all of these things. But after 7 years, it took a jury 19 minutes to give us a verdict of guilty on all counts. And Brianna was a part of that trial team. Brianna, along with my senior assistant district attorney, Don Baskin, AKA Hurricane. That's what the paper calls her. So, yeah. She's not here today. I think she's in court. I think she's preparing for another murder case for next week. Yeah. She's meeting with victims. But, yes, that's the Hurricane. So, but when you see statistics, like 84% of human trafficking victims were previously victims of child sexual abuse, then that is where I believe that's the call to action for me as district attorney. Because I know right now that I've got 126 children who are more likely and more susceptible to be re-victimized as victims of human trafficking, and I want to do everything in my power so that they are not victimized again. I couldn't stop it the first time. I can hold people accountable, and we hold them accountable. But I want to stop those 126 children from being victims of human trafficking, and that is the reason we have this symposium. So I want to say to you that if you know of any child that you may think is being abused, let us know. We will look into that. Any child who has suffered trauma. I know many of you have heard of our RISE initiative, Restoring Inspiration by Success in Education. A lot of the kids who are in that RISE initiative are children who have been abused. Physically, sexually. Their parents have been murdered. Their parents are the alleged murderer. They've witnessed domestic violence. They've been awakened by gunfire. All the things that I know I was blessed not to have to deal with as a child. You say, DA Howard, how do you stand here as the first female DA and the first African-American DA? I had a very blessed, supportive upbringing, and all of our kids don't have that. But we are all here in this room because we're going to fill that gap. And we're going to support them regardless of their circumstances. And so, and basically the hand that they were dealt. And so that's why we're here today. You are a part of this process. We cannot do this without each and every one of you that are in this room. You are influencers in your own community. Y'all know I'm a people person. If I could knock on every door and talk to everybody, I would. But my sweet husband would say, Anita, you need some rest. And he often says that. But you are here because I need your help in ensuring the safety of our community, especially our children. We have got to protect them. So I just want to thank everybody again for being here, and God bless, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the symposium. And I have a wonderful team. I know I forgot y'all. See, I told y'all I was going to forget something. Anybody who works at the DA's office, please stand up, raise your hand. Y'all, I could not do any of this without these individuals. And my RISE ambassadors, they are hard working. Y'all, I know when they signed up to volunteer, they had no idea they're going to be doing all the stuff they do. But if you are a RISE ambassador, will you please proudly stand up. Thank you so much. All right, so next, y'all, this is going to be a treat. So I had the opportunity of, I've met one of these young ladies previously, but I wanted to talk with both of them via Zoom. And we had a quick Zoom meeting. And I remember Cynthia says, my dear friend from Out of Darkness, she said, well, you know, we're very protective, you know, of our survivors. And so what are kind of things you're going to be asking them? And I said, I appreciate you being protective. This is not an interview. It is an opportunity for me to just simply meet them and tell them why I invited them here. And I'm so honored with their courage that they are here to share their stories. And so at this time, we will have Lindsay Hooks and Alexandra Hill in that order. We'll have Lindsay Hooks first. I see a bio here, so I'll read that. Is that what you want me to do, Bree? Okay, all right. See, they didn't give me, you know, but hey, I'll go with it. Lindsay Hooks, born and raised in Macon, Georgia, with one brother and parents who have been married for 40 years. Currently, the general manager of Eyeglass World in Warner Robins, Georgia. Eyeglass World of Warner Robins, Georgia. Because when we met on Zoom, she said, send some folks this way. All right, I'm going to say it again. Eyeglass World in Warner Robins, Georgia. And a member of Real Life Church on Gray Highway, and also a volunteer for Out of Darkness and a survivor of human trafficking. Lindsay has an amazing daughter, Carson, who is 12 years old, that lives with her. Lindsay graduated from Valdosta State University, which is my alma mater, and is a licensed dispensing optician in Georgia. So at this time, let's bring up Lindsay Hooks.
Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to start by saying a prayer because that will hopefully help me during this. So, Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for everything that you've done for me. I just ask that you help me be a vessel to just give your word and to help these people that are in this room have the ear to hear what it is that you would have them hear today. Lord, thank you so much. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. My name is Lindsay Hooks, and I completed my program at New Beginnings in August of 2018. Growing up, I had a life that seemed to be normal, that seemed to be a normal upbringing. Both parents in the house and everything, once again, seemed very normal. I was very obsessed with pleasing others during this time in my life. It wasn't so much about pleasing my parents, it was the friends. They were like, hey, come smoke this. Hey, come do that. I wanted to go and be in that group of friends. And so, as I say, I was easily influenced. And home life was good. And in 2004, I graduated high school and went to college. I went to the school that was the closest to being out of state without having out of state tuition. So again, hence the whole mantra was to get as far away from my parents because they were the people that I had to pretty much answer to. So when I was in Valdosta, I had already started using drugs when I was in college or when I was in high school. And so when I was in college, it just got worse. I started using meth, I started using heroin, I was using, pain pills, which actually was what started it. So as we were speaking about something that, could stop potential things, it would definitely be if you were a doctor or have access to prescription medications. That's not the answer. You can find ways to help your pain without prescription medicine. So that's one thing I wanted to add into my testimony there. So as I'm in Valdosta, I have my daughter, and things got worse once I got those prescription medication. I couldn't keep a job. I could not keep anything together. I was in a town 2 hours away with no support system. The only person that I had was my daughter, who was at the time 2. So eventually I moved back to Macon, Georgia, where I thought all of my problems would be left in Valdosta. Wrong. They followed me. And sure enough, I was on Zebulon Road, Eisenhower Parkway, Mercer University, all of the streets that you guys are probably well aware of. I was actually selling my body to get the drugs that I thought that I had to have every day. I every day was waking up and having to find money, having to find, my next fix. And of course, in this lifestyle came arrest. One arrest led to another, which led to another, a violation of probation, all of these things that just kept me in the system. And I thought I had no hope. Well, one of these times in the Bibb County Jail, there was a card. It was the prettiest card I feel like I have ever seen in my life, and the words on it were hope. So I called the number that was on that card. That was the number for Out of Darkness. So I started to get in contact with these people that all of a sudden they cared about me and didn't want anything in return. They were loving on me and just were showing me all this love that I never knew before. So when they started coming in, I was like, man, these people are cool, like how do I get in? They say that they'll help me, Well, I did finally get out of jail, and I went back to the lifestyle that I was living. I remembered Out of Darkness, but I didn't call them. I wasn't ready yet. Finally, I lost custody of my daughter. I was told I could not see my daughter anymore until I got help. That was when I hit my rock bottom, and I said, okay, I'm calling Out of Darkness. I've got to do this. No time is better than now. 365 days of absolutely, it was me and God, and my life changed forever. My life changed forever at a small town. Many of you may not have heard of it, but it's Martin, Georgia. I think it may have 1,000 people that live there, and that is where I met God for the first time, and He changed my life forever. And yes, I just want to say that I now have full custody of my daughter. I get to take her to school every single day in the car that is paid for with insurance, and I have a driver's license and all that stuff. So life is good. Hallelujah. Amen. And thank y'all for having me.
First, I would like to just say thank you and to let you guys know that it takes an immense amount of courage and strength and tenacity to not only go through adversity and still to come out on top, to come out willing to support others who may go through something similar, to offer education, and just to come out unscathed. You guys look amazing. I met both of you earlier this morning, and it just reminded me of 2009. I was at Valdosta State, and so I was exercising every day, twice a day, and I hurt my leg, and the doctor said, Ms. Foster, just stay away from the gym for about 4 weeks, okay? It is January 24th, 2024. So, yeah, I never went back to the gym consistently. Yeah, so just for you guys to go through something so detrimental and to make a choice to be better, to want to offer hope, I just want you guys to know that we love you, we support you, and we don't take it lightly that you came here today. We don't take it lightly so much for that. DA wants to talk to you. DA Howard wants to talk to you all as well.
Lindsay and Alexandra, I want to thank you so much for sharing your stories. And when I talked with you on that Zoom, I said, you are here to educate us. We go to trainings, we have all different types of professional development. We are in this room what you consider to be subject matter experts. but really there's nothing like going through something. And I thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for educating us. And so it couldn't have been more timely. Yesterday, I've been telling my team, because I've gone various places. I know Sheriff Davis has given me one. Retired Judge Sims gave me one when I went to New York. Those DAs up there had them. And so I came back and said, I need some challenge coins. And they came in on yesterday, okay, my challenge coins. And these are the first 2 that I am giving out, because I want it to be memorable, not only for you, but for me, and I won't ever forget this. And so the challenge coins that I have are given to individuals who extraordinarily use their talents, resources, and skills for the enhancement of public safety, personal and community healing, and continual hope that there is always reachable light, no matter how horrific the darkness might seem in the moment. And so, Lindsay and Alexandra, if you would come up, I want, as the District Attorney of the Macon Judicial Circuit, the first 2 challenge coins I've ever given to anyone, I want to give to you too.
Good morning and welcome to Mercer. I am Tammy Crutchfield, but before I say anything else about why I'm here today and who I'm introducing, I want to say that in 2013, my heart was broken as a mother. And so I began to go to the back of the Pilot in Warner Robins, Georgia, along with a lot of other ladies and gentlemen in here, to pray and to ask, what do we do? And so in that chapel out of darkness, Middle Georgia was born. And I was out on a Princess night, and I met Lindsay. And then I was able to, I've said over the years since then, one of my favorite places to go is to the jail, because I get to see women just like me there. So I got to visit Lindsay a number of times in the jail, and I'm so proud of you, and I'm so proud of Allie too. I don't know you, Allie, but I want to know you. And I'm just so proud of y'all. But my day job is marketing professor at Mercer University. And in 2013, the same year, I tasked my students with a project that I thought would be short-term. You never know what you're getting into, do you? Because now I have served alongside a group of over 1,000 students at Mercer who call ourselves Traffic Jam. And so that's all I'm going to say right now, because I want to introduce to you the amazing Mason, as I call him. And Mason's going to, what I love about Mason and a lot of my other students, I love all of them, and their passion. But I love to see men getting excited about prevention. And so the amazing Mason is going to tell you what Traffic Jam's all about. Mason, come on up. Mason Morning.
Good morning, everybody. It is an absolute honor to be here. I've been involved with Traffic Jam over the last 3 years. During my time at Traffic Jam, I have been given countless opportunities to come and speak at events like this. But I will say, after 3 years of doing this, I do not think I have ever been more nervous for a public speaking event than what I am right now, because of all the influential people here and all the amazing people here who are here to fight the good fight. So I want to thank you all for having me here today. But before I start, I also want to thank the terrific Dr. Tammy Crutchfield. who over the last 3 years has been an incredible mentor to me, has really helped me continue on my path as a good person and as a person who's fighting against traffic jam. So I thank her for that, and the fact that every time a public speaking event comes up, she always calls me first. So, Dr. Crutchfield, I am so thankful for you, and I'm so thankful for everyone here. So, a little bit of background about Traffic Jam. So, like Dr. Crutchfield said, it was started in the 2013-2014 school year. And the whole goal of Traffic Jam is to educate the youth of Macon, most importantly, the high schoolers, the freshmen, about the dangers of sex trafficking. And so the way we do that is we have developed a comprehensive program using these workbooks and interactive videos. And what we do is we have a class here called CLS 200, where Mercer students come and take the class, and they're taught the curriculum, they're taught what sex trafficking is, the dangers of it. We give them a lot of information about it as well. But we train them for about 6 to 8 weeks, and then once the training's finished, we actually go into local Macon-Bibb County high schools, and we talk to freshmen for about 6 weeks, and we go through everything. What it is, how to prevent it, what are the signs, how do you avoid falling into this situation in the first place. And it's a fantastic course, and I believe that it really has, it has really shown these students what it is, and I really think it makes a difference. I remember the first time that I ever went into the classrooms, I was nervous. I was so nervous. This was 2022. Because of COVID, Traffic Jam was not able to go into schools or basically continue our mission. So I was part of the first team back in the last 2 years, and I was very nervous. And when I went in there for the first time, it was rough. I won't lie. The students were rude. They were not paying attention to us. They were trying to make jokes. They were trying to, make fun of the whole situation. But 6 weeks later, when it was our last day there, I was there at 7:30 in the morning, so a lot of these kids were not interested in talking to me at that time, but they came in, and I noticed a couple of them were upset. I'm like, hey, what's going on? Something happened? What's wrong, y'all? And they're like, we're just sad. I'm like, well, why are you sad? They said, because you're not coming back after this. And that, honestly, from there, that has really inspired my entire journey through Traffic Jam. But that just shows how much these students care about it. I tell the students before they go in to the schools, hey, y'all, it's going to be rough the first few days. It's going to be rough. But by the end of it, all of the students are just head over heels for this program. They're asking questions. They're asking how to get involved. They're telling us about, hey, this, and happened. Can you check it out? And we talk with the school administrators. We talk with teachers and all of that. So I'm so very excited about that. And the most important part of Traffic Jam for me is that mentoring relationship that these high school students get with the college students. Because it's one thing if a teacher of theirs goes in, they'll listen to it a little bit, but, they don't listen to their teachers like they do us. We're there for a limited amount of time. They just pay attention and are more open with us because we're closer to age than them. We were just where they were not that long ago, even though it was almost a decade since I was a freshman. But I think that's one of the most important parts of Traffic Jam. Now, with that being said, Traffic Jam, our main goal right now is expansion. And while I wish that we could have college students in every classroom teaching Traffic Jam, as of right now, that's just not possible. So, Traffic Jam has taken some amazing steps recently to spread our message across the country. So, number one, we are in all 6 public Macon-Bibb high schools this semester. That is a record for us, which is So exciting. And number two, this year, we realized, like, hey, we can't get into all of these schools because we just don't have enough manpower. So with Dr. Crutchfield's brilliant guidance, we decided that we are going to go into the schools and we are going to educate all of the health teachers on this subject. We give them our books, we give them our materials, free of charge, of course. Traffic Jam does not charge any school anything to be in there. And so all the public high school teachers are now working to teach this curriculum on their own. And so that's happened in Macon-Bibb County. We're looking to expand into other counties around Macon as well. But one of the most exciting things that we have done recently is we are opening up a new Traffic Jam location in Kennesaw University, which is so exciting. We have a great team of students and, oops, sorry, that was a timer. Tell me I'm going over time. Sorry. And we are hoping that they start educating students very soon, either this semester or next semester. So we're very excited about that. The next big thing that we have done is the chief of police for Polk County in Orlando, Florida, has gotten in touch with Dr. Crutchfield, and starting this year, we will be educating the police officers in Polk County with our material, and the police officers themselves will be the ones going into the schools to teach this curriculum, which is so exciting. Finally, I want to talk about how Traffic Jam funds all this stuff. Traffic Jam has been fully funded for the last 8 or 9 years, which is huge for us. So we pay for all of the books, all of the books, all the materials, everything. And that's great because that allows us to get into more schools. The way we are funded through sponsorships and partnerships. The Macon-Bibb community has been a great place for us. They have really opened their arms to Traffic Jam and have given us all the resources we need to help continue our mission. Finally, I want to point out that the t-shirts in the back right there, for every t-shirt you buy, that is 2 students educated. So that's another way that we fund Traffic Jam. But as a final remark, I just want to let y'all know that I am thankful for y'all being here and supporting this. I know that Traffic Jam has changed my life. It has changed the lives of every Mercer student who has gone through the program, and I have seen it change the lives of Macon-Bibb County high schoolers. In fact, this is the final note. The most wonderful thing for me as a Traffic Jam leader is the last time that I did the Traffic Jam course, I was training a student. Her name was V. V was the first Traffic Jam mentor who had gone through the Traffic Jam program as a high schooler, which, I mean, that speaks volumes to me. She cared about it so much in high school that she came back and helped educate students. And I think that really shows how much Traffic Jam means to these students and to me. So thank you all so very much for having me.
All right, so we are nearing the panel session, and I have the immense opportunity to introduce the co-founder and director of Out of Darkness, Mrs. Cynthia Smith. Cynthia Smith is the director of Out of Darkness, Middle Georgia, the Anti-Trafficking Department of Frontline Response. Cynthia began as a volunteer leader with Out of Darkness in 2014 and became the chapter director in 2018. Since the Middle Georgia chapter launched, there have been 163 rescues with 3,400 plus encounters with individuals during jail, street, hotel, and strip club outreach. In 2022, Frontline Response opened its first transitional home to help women gain self-sustainability and independence after completing their recovery program. Please help me welcome Mrs. Cynthia Smith.
Hello. I want to ask our panelists to come up. So I am Cynthia Smith, and I'm pleased to be here, and it's an honor to be a moderator for the panelists. Again, I want to thank DA Howard. I don't know where she went, but just thank her for partnering with us again this year and everything that she does to help put an end to human trafficking. We can't do this without helping one another, without collaboration. And awareness is key to ending it. If you don't, or if you aren't aware of something that something's going on, you can't do anything about it. So I'm very thankful for that. So I want to just start by asking each of you to introduce yourselves and just talk about what you do and kind of an overview of what you do and how it relates to sex trafficking.
Okay, this is on.
I think so.
My name is Amber Mills, and I am the transitional home manager for Barbara's House in Macon. No, it needs to be up. How about now?
Yeah.
Is that better? Okay. So my name is Amber Mills. I'm 33. I'm a survivor leader. I am now the transitional home manager for Out of Darkness in Macon, Georgia.
Thank you. And Tammy's introduced herself already, but yeah. I'll just say about Tammy is she has been with the Out of Darkness since the beginning. She was with us in the chapel at the truck stop in Warner Robins. And anyways, we lost her kind of to traffic jam, but that's okay.
I would like to say, since Traffic Jam was born, I do believe it has a life of its own. We have educated over 7,200 students in Macon-Bibb County, and I'm very thankful for that. It's a blessing.
Hi, my name is Kimberly Sanderson. I know it's on. There we go. I think we just need to get closer to it. So my name is Kimberly Sanderson, and I'm the manager of the Crescent House. The Crescent House is the Child Advocacy Center for the Macon Judicial Circuit, serving Bibb, Peach, and Crawford counties. We are also a service of the Beverly Knight Olson Children's Hospital at Atrium Health Navicent. So we serve both as a place for children to come after an abuse or an allegation of abuse has happened, as well as helping to educate the community about child abuse and child sexual abuse specifically. We are also a network of the Children's Advocacy Centers of Georgia. There are 49 advocacy centers just like ours across the state. And I say just like ours, we all look a little different, okay? But we offer the same services. And so because of that expanded network that we have across the state, about 3 years ago, the Children's Advocacy Centers of Georgia took over the the exploitation of children, and we took over that statewide response. So as DA Howard was saying earlier, we want to help at the beginning when a child is first experiences sexual abuse. We want to be there to be that help and help them find resources so that they don't end up part of that 84% where they are child trafficked or sex trafficked.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maya Hasek, and I'm the Human Trafficking Program Director at Tapestry. Tapestry is a nonprofit social service agency based out of Tucker, Georgia, but we cover the entire state of Georgia. We specialize in serving foreign national survivors of domestic violence, human trafficking. We also have a program for unaccompanied minors, minors that may have been smuggled across the border or brought across the border without a parent or a guardian. We also have a batterers intervention program, which is more so closely related to our domestic violence program. So although we specialize in working with foreign nationals, we of course accept referrals for U.S. citizen victims as well. I think what's a little bit different about our program is that we work with adults, minors, males, females, survivors of both sex and labor trafficking across the state. Unfortunately, we do not have a shelter, so we rely a lot on our partners, such as Out of Darkness and Frontline Response, to get that emergency housing until we can make a long-term plan or assist the survivor in making a long-term plan moving forward. And I'd be happy to get into a little more detail a little bit later.
Thank you. Let's give them a hand. So I want to start with Kimberly. And the first thing I would like for you to talk about is sex trafficking only happening to girls? Have you seen boys being trafficked as well in this area?
In this area, we have only had girls in the last couple years. We have only seen girls. Now, where we have seen boys is in what we call sextortion. So there was a ring out of Africa that was contacting the boys, and we had 2 or 3 that were brought to us, and soliciting, befriending them, of course, on the internet, and then asking for pictures. And so they agreed to pay them money if they would send pictures. And then the more explicit the pictures got, the larger the amount of money that they were able to get. So that has been, for us, the experience that we've seen with boys. But certainly, sex trafficking is not all just girls.
Thank you. Do you happen to know what age range have you provided services for?
So my victim advocate, we have one who is especially for our commercially sexually exploited children. She's actually in a training this week, or I would have had her up here with me, on human trafficking. But our age range that we saw this year was between 10 and 16.
Thank you. My next question is for Tammy. Can you share some statistics from the high school students that you educate? What have you found out from them about sex trafficking and what's going on?
Okay, so we ask, they're all ninth graders, because now with House Bill 287, every single ninth grader in the public school system is supposed to be educated, high schooler. So Bibb County opened up the doors for us through the health courses, which has been really a blessing for us. So we ask students, so just think they're all ninth graders, we ask them, do you know someone who has sold themselves for sex? Okay, so we can't say, do you know someone who's been trafficked? They have no clue what trafficking is. Do you know someone who has sold themselves for sex? 1 in 9 tell us that they know someone who has sold themselves for sex. 1 in 9. So if we're sitting in a classroom with 20 students, at least 2 of them have admitted that they know someone. Then we ask them, do you know someone, because we want to differentiate for them, because, they think, being sold for sex and being forced to be sold for sex are different. And so we say, do you know someone who has been forced into being sold for sex? And 1 in 14 tell us that they know someone who has been forced into selling themselves for sex. So, and more anecdotally, they'll come up to us and they'll say, I know somebody who's been traffic jammed. That's what they call it. And so, they tell us anecdotally, and we have had to self-report on occasion also of someone who did report that they had been trafficked. So,
Tammy, how important is it to educate, prevention education? How important is that to help youth? Is that?
Ooh, that's a loaded question there now. It is essential to their livelihoods, really, to their health and the hope of who they have been created to be. Because it gets in, as you've seen, with our survivors, and those are, I wish I could say that there weren't many, but there are a lot. It's important. Prevention is so important. So I really do encourage each one of you, the youth in your lives, make prevention a mission to help them along the way, because we see all of the problems and all of the trauma that comes, what we call after the bang, and so it's really important for us to not shy away from it. We tend to shy away from it because it's a tough topic, right? It's a very tough topic. But we can't shy away from it because we want our youth to be wise. And guess what? They're not. They're pretty dumb, right? So, but they think they're wise. They think they know everything. And so it takes some time with us in the schools to break the wall, as Mason said, to convince them that they are at risk. And so it takes that time. So, it is essential. And I really hope that each one of you will make that part of your individual missions in your own communities, whether it's home, church, school, whatever it is.
Kimberly, did you want to add something?
Yes, I just wanted to kind of piggyback on what Dr. Crutchfield said. When she asked, do you know someone who has sold themselves? I want to remind you all, or educate you all, that you don't have to receive money to be sex trafficked. It can be McDonald's. It can be paying for a dance. It can be, they took me to the store and let me buy candy or dresses or whatever. So keep in mind that money does not have to be exchanged in order for a child, especially, to be sex trafficked.
I'd like to add one more thing, I'm sorry. But boys don't self-report as much as girls do.
Oh, amen.
So do not think just because we're not seeing it, it's not happening. It comes out later, if it ever does. Their 40s and their 50s. So boys are being trafficked.
Yes.
Thank you. The next question is for Amber. Amber, why is the transitional home, she's the manager of the transitional home for Out of Darkness, the first one we've had in our organization. Why is that so crucial for survivors?
So first, it takes courage just to admit that you need help and to reach out and to find the resources that you need to be able to be pulled out of the situation. And then it takes hard work to be able to complete a long-term recovery program. And most of the women that I've come in contact with, they think that that's like the hardest part is getting through the program. But it's actually afterwards. It's actually when they have to face life on life terms and when they have to be put in real life situations where they practice the things that they already learned. But we have a bent towards reacting to situations the way that we always have. So they have to have, we have it set up to where they have accountability and they have support and they get to know that they're loved and they practice, self-discipline and self-love, having healthy boundaries. I've met a lot of women who have graduated from programs full of hope, only to find themselves frozen in fear when they realize, what am I going to do? How am I going to support myself? And so it becomes very tricky, for them to, who do they trust afterwards? What if they don't have family that's healthy? What if their family would abuse them? So your options can be limited, even though you work through a recovery program. When it comes time to graduate, the transition program is essential because we have it structured to where their basic needs are already provided for, and then we slowly transition them into having more and more independence until while they're still here, then they realize, hey, I'm already doing this on my own. So then they start to believe in themselves instead of being put in a situation where they don't believe that they can do it or that they have to depend on someone else to do it for them. So it is, and our services don't stop after their time with us is over, because while they're here, we have built a network of people, and it feels like family. And then that way they can always just give us a call, and they're not alone.
Thank you. So next, Maya, you touched on this a little bit already, but does human trafficking only result in sex trafficking, sexual exploitation? What types of trafficking have you seen, and what services do you provide?
Thank you for the question, Cynthia. Absolutely not. Both the federal and the state definition states that human trafficking overall can include both sex trafficking and labor trafficking. In the last fiscal year, Tapestry, 80% of our caseload was actually labor across the state of Georgia, and we have served survivors in 26 counties. The form of labor really varies from agricultural trafficking, individuals that have experienced fraud as a result or related to the work performed, individuals who have been coerced, who have been told, if you attempt to leave this job, I'm going to harm you, I'm going to harm your family, or I'm going to have you arrested or deported. We've seen individuals in hospitality, in restaurants, domestic servitude, which is more like a housekeeper or a nanny, singular cases, as well as larger cases involving multiple victims in a single case. So we have seen all of those during my time at Tapestry, and I want to also throw out there that sexual exploitation, rape, and sexual assault at times can be looked at as a form of labor trafficking as well. So let's think about somebody that may be getting raped, may be getting assaulted. There is no commercial aspect to it. There is no trade of anything of value for that sex act, but they're told that if they do not provide that act or engage in sex with that individual, that they will be harmed, their child will be harmed, their pet will be harmed, their sister will be harmed, their sister will be recruited, or looking at the threat of legal processes, or I'm going to have you arrested, I'm going to have you deported. We at that point can state that that individual has been coerced or sometimes, forced, which force we don't see as much because generally coercion is pretty heavy and it's used a lot by traffickers. But if that individual believes that if they do not engage in that act, that there will be serious consequences, then we could state that that person has been coerced into involuntary sexual servitude. So I just wanted to point out that there's not only the commercial aspect of it when we look at the definition of human trafficking.
Thank you. Kimberly, in your work at Crescent House, have you seen victims who've been trafficked by their family? Have you seen familial trafficking?
We have. Typically, familial trafficking is parents, and from our experience, it's been mothers mostly who offer their children up in lieu of maybe rent, or we had one that had offered a child up because they needed a car. So those are the things that we see in familial trafficking, where the children are being offered to for someone to have sex with them, so that the parent then can receive something from that.
Maya, have you seen that as well in your dealing with human trafficking?
Yes. Within the populations that we have served, there are instances of that, but I will say that for a national population, just in my experience, it's mostly been recruitment by a romantic interest when it comes to commercial sexual exploitation, not to say that there have not been cases of familial trafficking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Amber, what are the risks of women who do not have that transitional piece? So just to say, like this, for example, like a woman may call our hotline number, go to our safe home, then she's placed in long-term care, and so the transitional piece comes after that. And so you've already mentioned people leaving, graduating from their program, and then what? So can you talk about what some of the risks are if they don't have that next step, if they don't have that transitional piece?
There's also a whole lot of pressure as soon as you graduate, because then all of a sudden you've got to figure out how you're going to support yourself. And depending on the type of program that these women go to will depend on what kind, if they had the opportunity to get a GED while they're there, if they've had any job training beforehand. Because if you don't have any experience and you're trying to put something on a resume, what are you going to put if there's nothing to put? So the transition home, the risk of not having it is that without the proper support, they can find themselves in difficult situations where they feel like they have no other option but to resort back to what they know, And so, some of us in this room have had to make hard choices when it comes to figuring out how we are going to survive in this world. We were taught from a young age that nothing comes for free and that anyone that lends a hand out will eventually expect something in return. So after graduation, these women, they need shelter, they need transportation, they need medication management and experience in a job that will cover the cost of living, food, clothing, childcare, and everyone in this room knows about the price of living right now. And so, they need the opportunity to be able to learn how to do it and to have support without having to resort back to things that they don't really want to do.
I've been told we have 10 minutes. So, thank you, Jerry, for letting me know, being the keeper of the time. So I'm going to switch to some questions for anyone that wants to answer. What is the most challenging thing about your job related to human trafficking? Anybody?
I can maybe try. I think lack of resources, and I'm not just talking about like grants and funding, but sometimes the bureaucracy of getting somebody services through certain agencies. Let's say somebody needs long-term mental health treatment. I think it's not only hard for survivors of human trafficking, but, individuals, they may not have experienced human trafficking. So, the different healthcare systems for somebody that might have long-term health need, I think all of those are some of the challenges that we face when we come across certain cases.
Anybody else?
I would say for us at Crescent House, one of our most difficult challenges is educating our partners on what human trafficking looks like, because these girls that we've experienced are not going to tell you that they were exploited. They're not going to tell you that they were fearful and did the things. Jeff kind of alluded to it, and did things out of coercion, not because of their choices. Sometimes they don't even realize that it wasn't their choice to do it. A lot of times they think that they were in love, or that their perpetrator was in love with them, or their pimp is in love with them. And so educating the partners that it's not always going to look like child sexual abuse does, where a child is going to make a disclosure that they've been harmed or that they've been hurt. So that's one of our challenges, and we're still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one of the most difficult parts about the role that I play is having to help support someone to overcome certain barriers that feel and look gigantic to them when they believe that they can't do it. So helping them to believe that they actually can, and finding the resources, because a lot of the women, they have criminal records, and then they have fines that they have to pay off. They've got custody issues with their children, and they have a rap sheet full of things that they're trying to overcome, even though they've changed and they put the work in. But getting them to believe in themselves that it can happen, and loopholes are formed and miracles do happen. And so believing in themselves to overcome all of the hoops they have to jump through, and also, just giving them support throughout the entire process that's long, it's not short.
And I think for me, I'm a little different than the other three because it's all about prevention for us. So it's the time, reaching out as much as we really want to reach out. The time and the resources to do so would be more for me.
So this question isn't on the list, but just hearing you talk, what is the number one resource that you need to be able to do your jobs? I mean, it could be more than one, but is there anything specific that, like, we have a room full of possible resources here, so, yeah.
I think you first.
Well, I would say for us, for expansion, making the connections with universities, using and our partnerships and our networks, creating those partnerships and networks. So if any of you have connections at universities, we'd love for you to make the connection and help us to open the door. That would be the main resource that we're looking for at this point. And to all of those of you who do work in the school systems, thank you. Thank you for opening the door for us. And if you're in other school systems in the area, we're more than excited. We'd be thrilled to work with you.
And as far as support and resources, I think that legal aid, attorneys that will also help us fight these battles, get background checks, backgrounds cleared, and then resources. We're always in need of help with transportation and figuring out just different programs that can help these women get through the barriers that they have. But family law issues with DFACs and attorneys, and then criminal law stuff, it's definitely a challenge. So.
Can I maybe add on to that? Different, but in partnership with, I think we need partnerships with landlords that are willing to overlook some of those records or, pardon some things without having to tell the landlord, hey, I'm housing a survivor of sex trafficking or labor trafficking, because we do want to be respectful of their stories and their experiences and not having to disclose that in order to get somebody affordable housing under their name.
And I want to add to that's actually perfect, because we even have a waiting list right now, to be able to get into Barbara's house. And so having housing to where that's something that's affordable while people are trying to find a job and they have to pay for childcare, it is a very difficult situation that they cannot do alone. So, and if you go to apply for an apartment somewhere, they're going to run your credit, they're going to run your background, and these people, the women that we serve, they haven't had the chance to even figure out how to work on all that stuff to get it to a healthy place. So,
Thank you. So one more thing, does anybody have a favorite story that continues to give you hope in this work? Because there's a lot of good, we see a lot of good, a lot of bad, but is there anything specific that gives you hope to keep going in what you're doing?
it happens all the time for me. I mean, it does. I'm honored to be able to be in the position that I'm in, because I get to give 1-year sobriety coins at celebrations, and I get to see as these women are able to see their children more often, get custody back of their kids, able to, and really as they start to believe in what they actually are worth and what they can do, it is so beautiful to see the light come on when they start to believe the truth about who God says they are, instead of the lies that the world convinced them of.
I'm reminded today of the hope that has been given and the blessings of being a part of this great calling of ours. When I saw Lindsay standing up there and sharing, that just made my heart explode with joy. And then seeing the students in the back and their courage and their hard work, that is another source of hope for me also. So go Traffic Jam.
I just want to say that I want to thank the district attorney for all that she's done to improve and bring light to this community. It's through partnerships with people like her that we are able to get the word out, that we are able to educate. And like I said, that's one of the biggest things. And so we're able to educate not only our partners that we work with, but the community. So thank you, D.A. Howard.
I'm not sure what I can add to that. Of course, having the tools to assist survivors in achieving their own personal goals, that's always, something that we're really grateful for an opportunity to be able to do, having those resources, but also having partners across the state that believe in the same vision and the same mission, and that, have been in this work for years, or even new partners that are just beginning, because we can in no way, shape, or form do this on our own. It's not humanly possible. We might be experts in certain things, but, we're learning something new every single day. So grateful that the community has showed up, individuals who work in this field, and, new partners. So thank you for the opportunity to be here.
I do have one more question. I said that was the last one, but if there's anybody what would be the one takeaway that you would want everybody here to leave with today that they've learned or yeah? Does anybody want to?
Okay, I selfishly always throw in labor trafficking because it's rarely talked about, but just to say that it exists, there's additional information that could be shared, or I'm happy to share so that we can assist those survivors as well.
I would hope everyone would leave with this. If you see something, say something.
Yeah, I would say if you've sat in this room today, your heart's been broken. And, when our hearts get broken, that's God calling us to do something about it, not just to sit there on the sidelines. So get to work.
And I would say just to look past the charges, look past the record, look past the situation, look past the track marks, look past whatever it is that may tempt you to look down or not understand, because there is absolutely a reason that person made those choices to be in that situation, and we never know what kind of choices we would make if we were dealt the same cards as them.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo.
We have a golf tournament coming up, May the 22nd. I don't have the flyer in front of me, but it's May the 22nd. And we have some here if anybody's interested. And also there's a sheet, an information sheet on the table in the back. It just gives an overview of who we are, how to get in touch with us, and what different programs that we have. But I want to thank DA Howard for doing this, because this is making a difference. And it's giving us survivors a voice, and people who are passionate about this a voice, to speak up for those who don't have one. So I just thank you for doing this again.
That was an awesome panel. We're getting ready to let you all go, but first, last year when you were here, I had my good dear friend Sarah Shank come up to talk to us about our Family Justice Center. We are going to be one of the first of 3 Family Justice Centers in the state of Georgia. I'm excited about that. We also had the first Camp Hope America in the state of Georgia, the Macon, the Middle Georgia area, the Macon Judicial Circuit. We did, and so we sent kids to camp for a week. I actually went with them and stayed in the cabin for 2 days. I had some other things to do, but I plan to stay longer. We're looking for more volunteers to go this summer to stay with them. But I want Sarah just to come up briefly. Anybody that knows me know that I am a champion for the future of our children. And recently, our mayor and the commission gave $1 million. I think it was last week. They gave $1 million to our Family Justice Center, One Safe Place Macon. And I just want Sarah to come up and give us a brief update. We made a lot of progress since last year. I'm not giving the update. Anita, hush. I'm gonna let her give the update. So come on, Sarah, because I'm just excited about the Family Justice Center. Everybody that knows me knows that.
I don't know. I don't know why I should be surprised that this doesn't happen. All right. So bear with me, because I didn't know, just like last year, that DA Howard was going to pull me up here, but I will never miss an opportunity to tell you more about One Safe Place Macon, because it's something that we have tremendous pride in, that we're bringing to our community and pioneering in the state of Georgia. So One Safe Place Macon, as DA Howard said, will be one of the first 3 family justice centers in the state of Georgia. And you may not know what a family justice center is, but in brief, there's over 100 of these centers throughout the country. And so right now, we have really great services. You've heard about some of them as it relates to human trafficking, child sexual abuse, but for any of our victims of family or interpersonal violence, getting help can sometimes be one of the biggest barriers. It takes a lot, the bravery, the courage to say, I need help, and then to go and seek it is sometimes the biggest step in the process. But it's oftentimes one of the most difficult. Sometimes you don't know where to start, you don't know where to go next, you don't know even what might be available to you, your children, your family, as you're trying to seek help. So while we have great services, you kind of have to bounce around and navigate this really complicated process. What a family justice center is it flips that. And we're going to take those services, those agencies, those organizations, and we're going extreme collaboration, and we're moving in together. We're coming all under one roof. And so we are in the process of identifying buildings right now for One Safe Place Macon, which is exactly what it sounds. It is one door. So victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, human trafficking, elder and dependent adult abuse, any of those types of victimizations, those victims, their families, one door. Just walk through that one door, and we'll take it from there, and we're on your team. Centralized intake, centralized navigation, centralized support, and we have 16 Middle Georgia agencies that have committed to moving staff members in to serve together under this same roof. This is huge. Georgia hasn't had this yet. And so the first one opened up in Georgia in December up in Marietta in Cobb County, the Cobb Family Advocacy Center. There's another one opening down in Waycross, they're building right now. What I'm really proud about Macon is when we open, we will be the largest in the state of Georgia. Both in square footage, in the number of agencies, and the types of services that we're going to be able to offer under this one roof. Because not only are we have 16 agencies moving in together, we've got another laundry list, 10, 15, 20, that are ready to come to that building and serve if their services are needed. And it's the partnership of DA Howard, our county commission, unanimous appropriation of $1 million last week to make this vision happen. So we are close to being able to announce where we will be located and start the construction process with the goal of having doors open in 2025. And DA Howard mentioned Camp Hope. Camp Hope's one of the services that'll be available under the roof for our kids to break some of those generational cycles. You know, that statistic of, our human trafficking victims, 84% of them were victims of child sexual abuse that just rips your heart out. And so what if we can intervene? What if we can take these adverse childhood experiences and give them equal doses of positive childhood experiences? That's a game changer. And so Camp Hope, we actually, before we even opened our doors, we took our first 28 kids to camp last summer with the support of the DA. And these are kids who have been experienced or exposed to domestic violence, sexual abuse, any of those victimizations, whether they were the victims of themselves, whether it happened in their families, maybe they've lost a parent to gun violence. We started with these elementary school kiddos, and this year we've expanded to middle school, and we took 28 kids last year. We have 60 spots this year. Year-round mentorship for these kids, and a 5-night overnight summer camp program with a hope-centered curriculum for these kids, all 100% free to their families. It's a game changer, and it's amazing. And, the one thing I want to leave you with is I'd love to talk to you more about Camp Hope. If you know families, if your organization wants to partner with us to be able to make referrals into this program, please come talk to me, because we're doing a big recruitment push this spring, and we'd love to bring on more referral organizations. But the one thing that I'll leave you with, and I think this covers One Safe Place Macon, it covers Camp Hope. It was echoed up here today. I know DA Howard loves to say it too. We teach our kids in the Camp Hope program about hope. We don't sit there and talk about this is what happened to me, this is what happened to me. We're future focused and we look at hope. And hope for us is the idea that your present and your future can be better than your past, and you have some willpower and way power to make that happen. You've got agency over that. So what our kids always say, and they really embody it, and they're so cute when they say it, and they get so excited when they see me every month and can tell me, I remember the definition of hope. We teach them hope is believing in yourself, believing in others, and believing in your dreams. And I think if we can get that ingrained in our kids, hope's believing in yourself, believing in others, and believing in your dreams, that's where we see transformation in our community. And we can get our community to believe those things too. That's what's going to change the trajectory of our families and our community. So thank you, DA Howard, for always sharing your mic and being so passionate about this program.
So y'all see why I wanted Sarah to talk. I remember when I got to camp and we had, done different activities with the kids. We did a Macon bacon game. We had done some other things. When I finally got there in the middle of the week, they said they were in the pool. And they're like, DA Howard, are you going to get in with us? So they had me in the pool. They had me making ice cream sundaes at 11 o'clock at night. I was like, okay, I'm a little tired. But no, please, Camp Hope is amazing. I just want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. I want to thank Out of Darkness. This is a partnership that they initiated with me. They called me, I remember, soon after I had gotten elected, but I think even prior to me taking office, and we began to talk about the work that they do, and it's just amazing work. And Kimberly, I think, she said it best. Is that we need to do something. Every year we have a hashtag at the DA's office. And this year, our hashtag, you'll see here on your cup, we have two, Howard Encouraging Action and hashtag Do Something. My husband and I were invited, as many of you know, up to Vice President Kamala Harris's house for a Christmas party. And she was speaking to us, and one of the things that she said that just stuck out, she said, as leaders, as human beings, we should be concerned about, we should have some level of concern, curiosity, and care about those that are suffering, okay? And then once we have that, we should do something. And that is where that hashtag comes from. Doing something. And so that's why we are all here during Human Trafficking Prevention Month, is because this is a mandate, a nationwide mandate that we come together and we talk about our connections. So I encourage you, before you leave, get someone's number that you don't know, someone who's in a different profession than you, because we are all connected in this thing called life to make everyone have a better human experience, and especially our children. I encourage each of you to leave here today with the spirit of doing something. Everybody can do something. Do something. Thank you, and God bless you all.